Attorney General Barr, when it comes to police engagement, last August when speaking to the National Fraternal Order of Police, you shared your views on police engagement with the public. You stated, and I quote, "Underscore the need to comply first, and if warranted, complain later. This will make everyone safe, the police, suspects, and the community at large, and those who resist must be prosecuted. I repeat, zero tolerance for resisting police. This will save lives." Do you stand by that statement?
Yes, I think it's very important.
A zero tolerance attitude is costing lives, not saving them, especially in communities of
Well,
color.
I'm not saying that.
I reclaim my time. A movement and protests have arisen in response to police brutality. Here are a few examples of who bears the cost of zero tolerance. Elijah McClain was walking home from a convenience store when he was approached by police. He had not committed a crime. Police held him in a chokehold for 15 minutes, then injected him with ketamine, not under a doctor's supervision, but at the direction of non-medically trained and unlicensed police officers. Are you familiar with that case?
No.
Do you know how frequently ketamine is used by law enforcement to subdue civilians, especially people of color?
No.
Did you know if police departments have been documented as directing paramedics and EMTs to inject ketamine during arrests?
No.
Well then, I guess you haven't evaluated the use of force tactics since becoming AG, and especially this particular tactic of subduing suspects with ketamine.
Not with respect to ketamine, no.
Will you commit to directing the department to evaluate the protocols around the use of ketamine, chokeholds, and other methods used by federal law enforcement officials when making arrests or detaining subjects?
Well, absolutely. Under the President's executive order, we are reviewing
Thank you. And especially
use of force and working with police departments.
Especially the ketamine. That's pretty outrageous. George Floyd was killed by a police officer via a chokehold. For 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a police officer knelt on his neck as he begged for his life. He was suspected of using a counterfeit $20 bill. That's how zero tolerance can amount to a death sentence for black men when used in communities of color. With George Floyd screaming, as we all know, he couldn't breathe. Now consider James Holmes, who murdered 12 people and injured 70 others in a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, the same town as Elijah McClain, where he was arrested. James wore body armor, had a knife, semi-automatic weapons, and an AR-15. Yet he was calmly arrested by the same police department as Elijah McClain without a chokehold or an injection of ketamine. Dylan Roof used a gun to murder 9 people and injured another at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in South Carolina. When he was arrested, no chokeholds, no injections, he was treated so well that officers brought Dylan Roof Burger King after arresting him. Are you familiar with that case?
Yes.
I raised those 2 examples to follow up on what my colleague from Texas highlighted earlier, that the department is not doing enough to address issues of racism, bias, and brutality in law enforcement. When someone who commits mass murder is calmly arrested and served Burger King, while a young man walking down the street is placed in a chokehold and injected with ketamine, then dies. You said that under the executive order, the administration is looking at chokeholds. What have you determined so far?
Well, we're setting up a system of certification of police departments, and part of what our charter is to come up with criteria that will be used for certification, including limitations on use of force, specifically including chokeholds.
So in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, part of it called for a national registry of law enforcement officers as a resource for police chiefs to determine who are the best candidates for jobs. As you may or may not be aware, Tamir Rice might be alive today if the police chief who hired him had known that that police officer had been fired from another department. What is your view of a national registry of law enforcement officers?
The second aspect of the President's executive order is to set up a database like that so that all determinations of excessive force around the country go into that database, and if police departments aren't reporting that information, they wouldn't be certified. So we do believe in one national point where you can go in and get determinations of excessive force on law enforcement candidates for jobs.
Good, thank you. And I do want to comment on part of your opening statement when you were saying that after the Jim Crow period, that our justice system was equal. And I don't believe that that's the case.
I said the laws were made equal.
The laws are made equal. They are certainly not applied equally. We do have systemic problems in our law enforcement system, our criminal justice system on every level. The fact of the matter is 2.3 million people in the United States are incarcerated. We incarcerate 24% of the world's prisoners. 34% are black, while African Americans are just 13% of the U.S. population. So justice is still not equal, nor are our laws. And I think when we look at how many people are incarcerated or how many people are killed, it is not the numbers, it is the percentage to the percentage of that group in the U.S. population. I yield back my time.